2 episodes ago, we created filters for our frontend for filtering our movies. Of course, those filters weren't Ajax filters, so we had to do a page refresh every time we wanted to see new results from our filtering. And then I promised you that I will create another episode using Ajax filters so that our page doesn't have to refresh. I also told you that we are either going to be using Vue.js or Octobers CMS's Ajax framework, and I really wanted to do it with Ajax framework because it's integrated with the October, so I think that's the way to go with it and not use some other library for it. So we are going to do it with October CMS's Ajax framework, and right here I just need to give a big shout out to Samuel, the guy who created October CMS, because he helped me with this episode because I couldn't find any good documentation of how those filters would actually work. But as you will see in this episode, it's actually pretty elegant and pretty easy to do once you know what you're doing. So thank you, Samuel, and let's get started with this episode. Right now I'm in my movie model. So you go to Watch, Learn, Movies, Models, movie.php, and right here we are going to define the default list of movies. So first thing we need to do is figure out a way to display all of our movies on our page without any filtering. So we need to define the default list for it. And to do that, we are going to use scope list frontend function, which comes with October, to set those default values, display them on our page, and then we are going to get into the filtering of that data. So you first create a function. So as you can see, we are defining two attributes right here that we are going to be needing for this function. The first one is query. So this is going to be the query of our movies, and the second one is options. Those options we are going to get from our filters later on, and as you can see, we are expecting an array here. Okay, so once we did that, once we defined our function, we need to define the default values which we want to display on our page. So we do extract, array, merge. We accept some options right here, and now we define our default options. So one of those options is going to be page. So we want to be on the page number 1. Then we want to define how many movies do we want to display per page. And I'm going to set it to 10. Then I want to define the sorting for it. So it's going to sort by the created date, and it's going to be descending. Since we are going to be filtering genres, I'm just going to put this to be null for now. So for the default list of our movies, we don't want to filter them by any kind of genre. We will do that later. So for now, it's going to be null. And here is just going to be an empty string because we can't send a null via a select box. We actually can send them, but it won't be this null. It's just going to be a string called null. So we defined our options, and now we just return our query. So as you can see, we are using this paginate function right here, which is going to be accepting two variables. So one is per page that we created right here. So how many per page, and what page are we actually on. So this is going to help us in the next videos when we create pagination, when we create sorting, and so on. I don't know actually if I mentioned that at the beginning of this video. So in this video we are just going to do the filtering like we did in the video before we were using Ajax, and in the next episode we are actually going to do sorting and pagination and searching and so on. So this video is exclusively for filtering. Okay, so that's it. Those are our default options. Next thing we need to do, we need to create a page that we want to display this on and call this function and display our movies. Okay, so I'm currently in filter movies.html file, which is in Olympus pages filter movies. This is the file that we created in the previous episode when we did filtering, and I'm just going to duplicate this file. And I'm going to call it movie filter Ajax. Okay, and we are going to change the URL of it to be Ajax filter. The layout is going to be default. It's not going to be hidden. We are not going to be using this component. We can leave this title right here if we want. I'm just going to add a class to it. So this is the classes from the semantic UI, so UI header. So we have filter movies, and this is going to be the page, our main page, that we are going to be displaying the filters via Ajax. And now I'm just going to create a simple layout for our page. So we are going to have our filters on the left side and the list of our movies on the right side. So we are using semantic UI, which we installed in the previous episode, and I'm using this UI grid. It's going to have it's going to be 5 columns wide on the left side, which is going to contain our filters, and it's going to be 11 columns wide on the right side, which is going to be containing our movies. So if we save this and go to, what did we call it, Ajax filter URL. So let's just try it out. And now we get, so these are our filters, these are our movies, and we have this filter movies right here. I'm just going to add a style to it so that it is removed from the top a little bit. Okay, now this looks good. The first thing we actually need to do right now is display all of our movies, and then we will get into filtering. Now, the main thing here is that we want to display our movies in a partial. This is because when we use Ajax for it, then we can say to the Ajax, okay, take this partial and update it with the new information that you got from our filters. And also we need an ID so that the JavaScript can know in which div our partial is located at. So we are going to create another div with an ID of partial movies. And now in that partial movies, we are going to call the partial, which we are going to save into our partials folder into the movies folder. So I'm just going to create that file first. And I called it movies.html. So as you can see right now, we have these partial folders. It has movies in it and movies.html file. So this is the file that we want to call. And now we just use Octobers function, twig function for calling that partial. So October automatically knows that when you're calling a partial, to look in the partials folder, it's going to look for the movies directory or folder, and then it's going to look for the movies.html file. So you don't have to write movies.html. The October CMS will automatically know this. So we do that, and now in our partials folder we can write whatever we want, and it should appear on our page right here. Okay, so in here we wanna actually display all of our movies, and we are going to do that just like we would display anything else in October. So I'm just going to paste that code in here. If you don't want to write it by hand, everything we do on in these tutorials is available for you on GitHub, so the link is in the description. You can click on it and paste it from there. Also, so what does this do? It's something we did many times in this series. So we are first checking if there are any movies. If there are, then we just enter this simple for loop in which we display movie name, movie year, genres, and so on. And then we have this else statement right here which says if there are no movies, then display this message. So if we save this, we should actually get that message because we still didn't set up the PHP block in our movie filter Ajax file and told October what exactly do we want to show in this partial. So we did PHP blocks before on this channel. I'm going to put the link in the cards on the right, so you can check that video out if you haven't already. So first of all, I'm just going to close this filter movies.html file so that it doesn't crowd up our space. And now we create a PHP block. And in that PHP block, we use some of our models. So we are going to be needing the model of genre and model of movies. Okay, so now we can use them like movie and do something and genre do something. We don't have to write this whole path right here. And also one more thing, so as you can see, when you are writing this kind of code, so when you are writing those PHP blocks, as you can see, they don't have any coloring on them, so there are no syntax highlighting right here. And to change that, I can just do October twig. So set syntax to be October twig. You can install it for Sublime Text Editor via their package manager. So the plugin is called October twig. I think Samuel made it. So when I turn it on, you can see that now I have the syntax highlighting for my PHP block. So now I'm going to use the onStart function. And I'm going to tell it to, so when the page is loaded, when the page is started, then prepare variables. So call this prepare vars function. So we need to create that function also. And in that function, we are going to first define options, which is going to post something and it's going to require an array. So this is going to be used when we start dealing with filters. For now, let's just leave it as it is. And then we have to define our movies and our genres and then display them on the page. So we are going to be needing genres later on for displaying our filters. And I think that should actually be it for displaying the default list of our movies. So we are just preparing these variables. We are using this post method to get the filtering. So the filtering is currently at the default, so nothing will actually happen. And then we define our movies. So our movie is going to be this list frontend function with options. So October is automatically going to read this file that we created and check out this list of default options and then display those movies that way. And for the genres, we are just calling genres as it is. So we are calling all of the genres. We are going to be needing them to create a list of checkboxes with the name of each genre. We are going to do that very soon. I save this, go to our page, and as you can see, we get the list of our movies. So we have title, year, and genres for every movie. And as you can see, there are 10 of them. So if I go to this file right here and change this to be 20, refresh the page, we should get more movies right now. But we are going to be dealing just with 10 for now. We save this. Okay, so now we created our list. our default list. Now we need to figure out a way to filter that list. And first of all, we are going to be filtering it by genres. So in this 5 wide column, I'm just going to paste in this code, so I don't have to type it. And we are calling this form Ajax twig function, which is going to render a form on our page. And this is going to be Ajax form that is going to do something when onFilter movies happens, which we are going to define in our JavaScript. So when onFilter movie happens, update movies partial, so this movies.html file, update it, and we also let it know that movies partial is displayed in this ID, so in this div. We have to define that div so that the Octobers Ajax framework knows where to update and where to render the new data, so the filter data. And then we have just this for loop, which is displaying our checkboxes. And the only thing of note here is that we have to name it with filter. So this filter right here, filter, which is expecting an array of data. So we have to name it filter genres. So these genres are actually these genres right here. So we want to send those genres, change this default set of options, and then display them in our partial. And then we just have this value of genre ID, so we are sending the genre IDs to this file right here, and then we are displaying the title, and that's about it. So as you can see, nothing too complicated. This is the only bit that we still haven't done on this channel, so displaying this form Ajax. And if I save this, now as you can see, we get all of our genres, and if we click on them, nothing happens, but I just want to show you the code for it. So if I just go right here, and you can see that we have, let me just see right here, so form method, let me make it a bit bigger. So that form looks like this. So form method post action is going to be this. It's going to accept some car set, and then we have this data request. So data request is specific to October CMS when you set it on, and it's set on to onFilter movies. So when onFilter movies happens, we are going to catch it with JavaScript and send something to the server. And then we have this data request update. So we are telling October, okay, update movies HTML file, and it's located in the partial movies div on this page. And it's also sending this session key and this hidden token and so on. Okay, so I hope you understand what is going on right here. Next thing we need to do, we need to actually query our list of movies to show only the movies in genres that we defined right here, so that we clicked on. So in our movie model, so in movie.php file, we are going to do pretty much the same thing that we did in the previous episode where we did filtering. So we are going to create a query to query our movies with genre IDs. So first of all, I'm just going to check if any of the genres came in via Ajax. So we are checking if genres aren't null. So if we get any genres, then do something in here. So next thing we need to check if that genre is in array. If it's not in array, if it's not in array, then set it to be in an array, because we need an array to make this work. So this is it. So when we put this exclamation mark, that means is not. So if it is not in array, then just put the genres in an array. So since we want to display the movies that have, let's say, action and comedy in them, not just that have either action or either comedy. We need to go through all of the genres that we got and create our query from that. So first of all, we are going to create a for each loop. And then we are going to query all of the movies that have the genres that we clicked on. We already did something similar to this in the previous episode where we did filtering. So that query is actually going to be pretty much the same as that in that other video. So we are querying all of the movies that have the genres, and then we are querying those genres to find the genres that have the exact same IDs that we are sending via Ajax right here, and then we are defining our query and sending it to the front end of our site. So in my app.js file, I'm just going to define some jQuery functions that are going to actually be sending the data from our forms to the backend. Now you can do that in app.js if you have it in your theme or any other file, any other JavaScript file that you are running on your site. Or if you don't have any of that, you can just write this at the end of the layout file in the script tags. So I'm just going to first define an anonymous function which is going to be run once the page is ready. Okay, so now we have that anonymous function, and now I'm going to say partial movies. When something happens in movies filter, when input or select boxes change, then we want to send the data from that form to our backend. And if you're wondering where this movie filter is, it's actually right here. So I'm just going to rename it to be movies filter, not partial movies filter. So we are going to catch that ID with our JavaScript. So what I said right here is, okay, so change, not whatever has been written here before. Okay, so what is happening right here is I'm saying with my JavaScript, check out the movies filter. When something changes in the input or select elements in that movies filter div, then define a variable of form, and that variable is going to be the closest form element that is nearest to this movies filter. And since that closest element is actually this form right here, we are going to take the data from that form, and also this should be closest. Okay, and then we just want to send that request. So this request that I'm going to write right here is specific to October. You get it with Octobers Ajax framework. So I'm just going to set this to be form request. And I don't have to define anything else because everything is actually defined right here. So October is going to know that when this request happens, it is going to need to update this movies partial, which is contained in this partial movies ID div. Okay, so I think that's about it. I'm going to save it. And then there is just one more thing we need to do. We need to define this on filter movies. So October doesn't have that on filter movies function just yet. So if we try to do something right here, right now, so if I click on this, nothing will happen because October doesn't know. I think we should even get some maybe errors. So when I, okay, so this something happened. So I accidentally closed my Laravel mix behind the scenes, and that's why the site went down. So I just rerun it, and now we have our page right here. And now if I click on action, as you can see, it starts doing something, but then it says Ajax handler on filter movies was not found. That is because we still haven't defined it. So I'm just going to go to my movie filter Ajax HTML and define it right here. So we have this function on start, and this function is going to prepare our variables depending on our options right here. So we want to do the same thing when on filter movies happens. So I can actually just copy this, paste it, and just rename it to be on filter movies. So when on filter movies happens, also prepare these variables. But remember, since we clicked on our checkbox, then we are sending some options to this file right here, and we are sending the IDs of our genres, and then October should query that and return our results into our movies.html partial. At least I hope it will work. So let's just go right here and click on action. And now we have this undefined variable genre on line 72. Okay, I missed something probably. Okay, so this is the error right here. So this shouldn't be used genres, but used genre, and it's actually this genre right here. Okay, let's save it, refresh it, try it again. Okay, let's try it. Actions, and as you can see, something did happen. We didn't get any errors, and now we have all of the movies that have action. And now remember this also. So we are displaying just 10 movies, and when I clicked action, it's not filtering only the action movies from those 10 movies, but all of the movies that we have on our site, because right here we are calling all of the movies, and then because we have these genres query, we are querying all of the movies for the action movies. So once in one of the future episodes, once we have the pagination down here, then we would see that that pagination list is smaller because we are only displaying the movies with action genre. Also, if I click on teen comedy, then I would get all of the movies that have action and teen comedy. As you can see, action, teen comedy, and let's just click it once more to get all of the movies that have action, teen comedy, and thriller. So as you can see, this works very good, and you also get this nice blue line right here so that the October shows us that is doing something. So if I disable the thriller, then we get this list, and so on. Okay, so we created the filter for the genres, and actually our filters now work. We just need to create one more filter for the years. So I'm just first going to define the layout of our years. It's going to be a select box, and I'm just going to paste it in because this is nothing new. So we just have a label of year. Also, only thing to note here is this name. So name has to be filter year. So we are sending year to the backend. Then we have this option value of select year, which is empty. That's why we created this year right here to be an empty string and not null. And then we are just going through all of the years, we are sorting them and displaying them. So the value is going to be the actual year, and the name of that option is also going to be the year. Of course, if I save this, nothing will happen, and actually we are going to get error because we don't have a years set up just yet. So we have to set them up in our PHP block. We also did this the first time we did filtering without Ajax. So we have to first define all of the movies, we have to go through all of the movies, get all of the years of those movies, and then create an array with all of those years so that we can display them on our front end. And it's pretty simple. Okay, so we first defined all of our movies, we set this empty array of years, then we go through all of the movies and get all of the years, and then we make them unique. So several movies can be in the same year, so we don't want to show, for example, 1980 first for 5 times, we just want to show it once. So we just do this array unique, so it's going to remove all of the duplicate movies from duplicate years from our array, and then we have this years array which we can traverse through. And if I save this, and actually I don't even need to refresh the page, we have this year select box and then select year, just like we did in the previous episode. Now, of course, this isn't going to work because we still haven't defined a query for the years in our movie.php file, which we are going to do right about now. So in our movie.php file, we just check if there is a year present, so if we have sent the year, and then we just query it, and that is going to be super simple query. So we are just going to say where the year is equal to year of that movie. And that's it. So this is the only thing that we need, and then we return the query and paginate it. We save this, go to our page, refresh it, and now let's just try to get all of the movies from the year 1970. As you can see, we only have one from 73, we also have one from the 80s, from 1980, one. Okay, so let's just try to find, okay, now we have 3 movies, and also now we can more granularly filter this list with genres. So let's say we just want to, as you can see, they're all documentary and teen comedy. Oh no, they're not. Okay, so this one is romance. So if I just click romance, I will get just this one movie. So as you can see, these two filters work in unison. So the movies have to be in the specific year and have to be in the specific genre. So if I just click on teen comedy, then I should get 2 movies. And as you can see, this works pretty well. Okay, so this is it for this episode. As you can see, it was a long one, probably the longest episode on this channel, but we did some pretty good stuff right here. And in the next episode we are going to be doing sorting, actually next episodes we are going to be doing sorting, searching, pagination and all of that with the Ajax, and this is going to serve as a base for everything we do from now on. So in those 3 or 4 more episodes, because this episode is so long, because we have to set everything up. As you will see, when we start doing sorting, it will go much quicker because we have our movie.php all set up, we have our filters set up, our JavaScript set up, everything is there. We just need to add that sorting. Okay, so this has been it for this video. Remember, everything we did here will be available for you on GitHub. If you want to ask me questions, you can do that via Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, my site, and so on. Also, of course, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like this channel and the content I put out, you can maybe subscribe to it. Also, if you want to send some money my way, you can use the Patreon page for that. And that's about it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.